Hey, everyone. So, this is week 4 of my 31 Nights of Halloween. Um, so I'm back with a brand new set of 7 movies that I watched. Um, and for night 19, I had watched Push. This was a movie that came out in 2025, so earlier this year. Um, It is about a realtor who has to sort of survive a night of terror um, when a deranged quote unquote client shows up at her open house. Um, it stars Alicia Sands. I'm not sure if, how to pronounce her last name. Raul Castillo, David Alexander Flynn, Gore Abrams, and Justin Marcel McManus. The movie is an hour and 29 minutes, so it's not that long, I guess, depending on if you like it or not, which I'll kind of get into a little bit later about the runtime. But where you can find it is Shutter, Prime, and Apple TV with Shutter, AMC Plus, um, Prime and Apple TV with AMC Plus, and then Philo. Um, and I was getting sort of Hush vibes, except with a realtor who happens to be pregnant instead of a writer who is deaf. Um, so, because while both may be slightly different, they're both in a house. Um, Different reasons for the house as well, but a house nonetheless, and they have to survive being in the house. I mean, in this one, this kind of goes further than just the house, because about maybe 30 to 45 minutes left with the film. She's sort of in the location, but um, it's still mostly within the house. Um, Now, this was just okay to me. I didn't really care so much for um, the leading lady here. Um, and it was just okay. Um, so I gave it like maybe like a 3 out of 5 personally. And I just felt like maybe the runtime was a little bit too. I mean, even though it was like typical hour and a half long for a horror movie nowadays, um, it it still felt a little bit long in parts because I don't know, it just either there was really nothing going on and it kind of dragged in scenes, or I mean, that's basically it for me, I guess, is that it just dragged too long in places, and I feel like some scenes could have been cut down, if not completely cut out. But I mean, so middle of the road, I guess. And I guess maybe the reason why I took off some points is because it felt like a sort of rip off of Hush, where I think Hush did a very good job um, with the fact that they had a deaf actress who, obviously you can't, being deaf, you can't hear. I mean, unless you have a cochlear implant, you're not really able to hear where the intruder is, and so you're having to figure out a way to survive and figure out how the way to get out and to get help in order to be able to survive. Whereas, I mean, in this one she has the added bonus of trying to get out alive for her child, her unborn child. It's just that, I mean, it just didn't work for me. Maybe it's just I don't know if it has anything to do with me not being a parent, but it just didn't really work for me. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how else to explain it. I mean, maybe one of you could help me figure that out, like in the comments. I don't know, but that's just it. Just didn't really work for me. Um, I mean, just like um, Until Dawn didn't really work for me because I mean I have siblings, so like with Until Dawn, there was obviously the one character who was looking for their sister. I mean, I have three sisters and um, three brothers, but it still didn't really work for me because of the fact that I just the emotional tug wasn't there because they waited so long to sort of show us the emotional tie to the sister. I mean, in this case, we've got sort of um, the fact that she looked the father of her child. We got a scene with him, but it was like literally in the bed. Like I hate to kind of spoil, but I mean the only scene we have of her with the father of her child was the fact that they were in bed naked, and that's it. And then we had a short little blurb of her finding out that she's pregnant. Like, okay, I mean, we didn't even. Uh, I try not to spoil too much, but with in order to kind of talk about why I don't like it, I kind of had to spoil a little bit, unfortunately. And in this case, we got the scene of them together in bed naked, and then we got a scene of them uh, driving in the car, not speak like we didn't hear them speak. It's just and then being I guess in a car accident or something, and that was it. And we didn't see them, interacting, and she like finding her, both of them finding out that she's pregnant, and them being excited about the pregnancy, and then all of a sudden he tragically passes away before he could meet his unborn child. We get none of that. So I mean, kind of falls flat to me. So I'm like, I'm not really feeling the tug to want to see her live, if that makes any sense. So I mean, I hate to kind of spoil it because I don't really want to spoil it for people who haven't watched it and want to kind of watch. But yeah, it didn't really work for me. Um, but going on to the movie for night 20, um, it is a movie from 2020 or 2014, called Clown. For some reason, this week was about clowns with this one and another one, a few nights later. But basically, it's about um, a father who, on the way to his son's birthday party, um, finds the uh, finds a clown suit in. I believe it's a realtor too. For some reason, it's like realtors also maybe like a thing. Excuse me, this week, but I think he's a realtor too, and he at the house he was at he finds a clown suit there, and so what he does is he puts it on, goes to his son's birthday party, not realizing that it's cursed. So it stars Andy Powers, Laura Allen, Peter Stormare. I'm not sure how to say his last name. Christian Destefino, Chuck Chamada, and Elizabeth Whitmere. It's an hour and 40 minutes long, so a little bit longer than usual for a typical horror movie. You can watch it on Netflix and Plex. Personally, I think the pros for this movie are, that we get a sort of backstory slash mythology on, like they made a backstory slash mythology for the clown. I tried looking it up and seeing if that was actually based off of real um, mythology for clowns, and I think it's just specifically created for this movie. But either way, I like the backstory slash mythology we get for it. Um, and we and I do like the fact that we get sort of a backstory for one of the characters. And to me, it came at the like both of those things came at the same or at the right time. It wasn't pushed off to like the middle or end of the movie, and it's like, well, I mean, you kind of have to reel me in into why these people are doing what they do, and the sort of mythology of the big evil, the big bad, and um it's just if you don't necessarily um, reel me in at the right times, I'm not really gonna enjoy the movie. But in this case, I do actually like um, the fact that they gave us the mythology of the clown, um, and the backstory of a certain character um, that eventually helps the dad. Um, and his wife and son, and it came at the right times. Now, the only con for this is that I think the wife's acting was a little bit not there. It wasn't the best, and that's the only reason why I give it took off half a point, and so I'm giving it a 4.5 out of 5. But otherwise, I think the look of the clown that you see on, or because this is the dad here, but I like the look of like the outfit and the makeup and all that, and I really, like I said, I can't get enough of the fact that the backstory and the mythology of the clown that was made for this movie was really good, and it came at the right time and all that stuff. So that's what I prefer. Is like as long as you can create a good mythology for it, and you can s- bring it around at the right times. I'll I'll be a happy camper. So that's I gave why it's getting such a high review for me. Um, Now, the next movie for Night 21, it goes all the way back to 1935, um, where it's titled The Raven. Um, the the plot of the movie is a brilliant surgeon with a morbid obsession for instruments um, of torture grows also dangerously obsessed with a young socialite who he saved um, after she gets in an accident, a car accident. It stars the I guess you could say the two leading men of horror when movies first came out, Boris Karloff, sorry, Bela Lugosi, and it also stars Lester Matthews and Irene Ware. This one is just over an hour, including the few credits that there are. And currently, it's streaming on Peacock, and I think Peacock tends to have more so the older movies, like this and like Frankenstein, I think, and Dracula, and not so much as old as those two, but Prom Night that I had watched last week. But yeah, and I'm not new to watching the older movies because when I was in college, I had taken a film studies course. I actually took two. One was movies that were made internationally, and then the second was horror films. And I didn't necessarily watch this one when I was, or at least I don't remember watching this one specifically in my horror film class. But um, I'm not new to watching older films. Um, I mean, this wasn't bad. This wasn't terrible. It actually was pretty decent. I think Bella Lugosi did a pretty good job of um, capturing the maniacal doctor, who's a tiny bit of a spoiler. Who's I mean, I don't know if it's really a spoiler because the title of the movie is an Edgar Allan Poe poem. So I don't know if it's that much of a spoiler, but he's obsessed also of Edgar Allan Poe. So I mean, I think he does a good job of um, giving or he does a good job of uh, taking that on. I mean, I give this a 4 out of 5, only because I mean, I'm not really sure exactly why I gave it a 4 out of 5, but I mean, it's just, I mean, it's not the best I've seen, but it's obviously not the worst either. It's just, I mean, it's good for the time period it was made in and all that. So, but now on to night 22, I watched 13 Ghosts. Um, this is about um, Arthur Criticos, who inherits a house. His and his two kids and his and his two kids inherit a house from his uncle Cyrus Criticos, who is a very rich collector of unique things. And his uncle Cyrus dies, um, and so he um, goes to the house um, not too long after his wife dies, um, and takes a look at the house with not only his two kids but his sort of nanny, I guess you can call her. Um, it stars Tony Shalhoub, Elizabeth Davids, uh, Matthew Lillard, Shannon Elizabeth, Alex Roberts, J.R. Bourne, Radiga, and Murray Abraham. It's an hour and 31 minutes long, so it's a very quick watch, particularly if you enjoy the film. At the moment where you can find the movie is Philo. I own the movie just because this is a movie that I grew up watching. So I'm not that um, unfamiliar with the movie. I watch this maybe at least once a year, if not um, once or twice, or like 2 times, I should say. Um, I think they do like a very good job of the makeup for the ghosts. I think in like the DVD version, they go into depth of the background for these 13 ghosts. But it's not necessarily on because I only have the digital version, so I don't they don't have it on there. But I believe in like the DVD version, they have in-depth backgrounds of all 13 ghosts. Um, or I think it's 12 ghosts because 13th ghost is someone from the cast. So I won't give away who that is, but I think there's like 12 ghosts initially that are inside the house. And also no, um this is a sort of um remake of a 1960 film titled the same thing. And that one I did actually, I believe I watched in my horror class, horror film class. But just to make that a note, because there are at least two movies with this with the name 13 Ghosts, and this one is the 2001 version. Obviously because Tony Shalhoub is in it, and F. Murray Abraham, sorry, are in it. And I think they would have been a lot younger, if not born yet, if this was a 1960 version. Anyway, they do a very good job. I think they do a very good job of personally the makeup for the ghosts, each individual ghost, and personally my um, favorite and the one that scared me the most is Ghost 10. Um, and this a close second was Ghost 12. So, if you've seen it or want to see it, you'll know which ones I'm talking about. Um, so I won't give the names of the I won't give the names of the specific ghosts, just in case you haven't watched yet and are planning to. But Um, now the only two cons that I have is are that one, I think they could have added a bit more backstory to Uncle Cyrus in the beginning. I mean, we get some, I guess, but it's not really that to me. It's not really that great. Um, and I didn't really get that much of a villain vibe from him. I mean, maybe if, they kind of spent a little bit of time, and maybe had pushed the movie time runtime to an hour and 45 minutes, I could have liked the character a little bit more, but um yeah, so I mean, as it stands, even after rewatching this so many times, he's not my favorite villain, unfortunately. So and my second sort of con is that, as with Ghost Ship, I thought the CGI was a bit shaky in parts, and I kind of noticed it now, um, as I watched it this go around. So that's why I kind of took off a little bit of points. It's not very much, but a little bit. Um, because I'm giving this one a 4.8 out of 5, and most of it's because of nostalgia and because I grew up with it. But the I do think that the makeup for the ghost makes up a lot for sort of for it. Um, but yeah, I mean, so far, um, there's at least a couple of movies that I give a high rating for. Um, Some because I've watched them for so long and I grew up watching them, and others because I they're more recent movies. But yeah, I mean, now Night 23 is about Gags the Clown. Again, like I say, these movies are rather this week is rather a lot for clowns apparently. But basically, in a small city in Wisconsin, they are terrorized by a mysterious clown roaming the streets late at night with nothing but black balloons. And there are several different types of people trying to look for this quote unquote creeper, from the local media to the police to curious snot-nosed teenagers. But yeah, it stars Lauren Ashley Carter, Tracy Perez, Aaron Christensen, Evan Gamble, and Wyatt Kuther, just to name a few. Because this is more like, I guess you can call an ensemble cast rather than focusing on 2 to 4 main characters. Um, it is an hour and 29 minutes long. Um, you can watch it currently on Prime Video, um, Shutter, um, Prime Video with AMC Plus and Shutter, um, Apple TV with Shutter add-on, Philo, and Hoopla. Now, this isn't my favorite movie. Unfortunately, this one was a serious miss, and it's because I felt like they were focusing too much on several different characters. Because there's the local news station crew that they're following, and then there's the sort of podcaster, like conservative podcaster that they're following, and his um assistant slash camera guy, and then there's a group of teenagers, and then they also have the local sheriff. So it's like there's 4 different subsets of groups of people that they're going after, and I just felt like they were going in too many directions, and it didn't feel cohesive to me because I mean it just felt like I said pulling yourself themselves into too many directions, and unfortunately that detracted me enjoying the movie way too much. Um, I like the idea of maybe a sort of supernatural being terrorizing a town, but when you have too many subsets of groups of people going around trying to figure out who this person is, if it's an actual person, and you know, um, whether or not they can be brought to justice, it does too much. I mean, otherwise, I think the kind of when we do see a glimpse of the clown, like we see in the picture in the poster here, you know, when we do see that, it looks okay. I mean, it's always from a distance, which is also kind of detraction because I would have loved to see the clown and his clown suit more up close and personal. Because I like to see the details. Because it's like as long as like I can see the details and it's actually scary, I can enjoy that, but it's too off in the distance. There's too many groups of people that we're going after, and it would have been more beneficial if we had maybe say the cops and that we're following and then like a group of teenagers. Okay, maybe. But the cops, the group of teenagers, a local camera, local news station, and then a podcaster and an assistant slash cameraman. It's too many. It's 4 too many groups of people that you're going after, you're following. So I mean, this felt like it's the never ending story, where it's like I'd rather this be over than suffer through this, unfortunately, and that's why I'm giving it like a 1 out of 5, because it had the potential, but it just really missed the mark personally. Um, and hopefully, if the director has another you know movie he or she wants to plan to make, then okay, work on developing a good story and narrowing down your cast so that way you're not stretched so far that you're you're just over here not giving your all to the story. And to the scariness of like the clown or the villain or whoever. Like just calm it down. You're all over the place, and that does not help anything, personally. Now if maybe they had a bigger budget and they had um a lot more runtime, like for Sinners, maybe it maybe could have worked if they had more of like a 2 hour runtime. Then maybe perhaps they could have dedicated more time to each individual like group of people. But it felt like too much like Whiplash, and I was like first we're over here, and then 2 seconds later we're over there, and that now we're back over here, and it's like it's just all over the place, all over the place. Just calm it down, please. Um, Now for night 24, last night, I watched Mr. Harrigan's Phone. Um, um, or the plot of the movie is Craig, a young boy living in a small town, is befriended by an older reclusive billionaire named Mr. Harrigan. The two bond over books and later an iPhone. But when Mr. Harrigan passes away, the boy discovers that not everything dead is gone when he is able to communicate with his friend from beyond the grave. It stars the late Mr. Donald Sutherland, um, Jaden Martell, Tippett, Colin O'Brien, Kirby Howell Baptiste, Frank Ridley, and Peggy Scott. Um, it's an hour and 44 minutes, and I believe this is a Netflix original film, so it's currently on Netflix. Um, Now, I'm going to start off with the cons here because I think this was rather misleading in um, misleading in what genre they put this in. Um, it's labeled as horror and also specifically supernatural horror. And personally, I wouldn't classify this as that. I would call it maybe at best maybe a thriller, um, and more of like a psychological thriller, because of the fact that um, well, yes, some weird things are happening. I wouldn't necessarily call this supernatural horror because there's not much supernatural going on. It's maybe implied that there's some supernatural stuff going on, but it's not anything like the Conjuring universe where you see demonic stuff happening, um, or even anything that goes on with um, because in the movie that I watched tonight, um, it's not really the movie I watched tonight. It had a lot more supernatural stuff going on, that than Mr. Harrigan's film does. I mean, like I said, it's implied that there's some supernatural stuff going on, but you don't actually see the supernatural stuff going on. So you assume maybe it is going on, but yeah, I mean, and this has a lot of voiceover going on from the perspective of the um, main character, which is Craig. Um, so um, I mean, you get a lot of his perspective, but he doesn't actually see anything going on. He just hears about it after the fact, and I mean, I guess because there's one particular sound that you get, that is prescribed to Mr. Harrigan once he gets the iPhone, but, and so you kind of you kind of, I guess, imply that something is going on, but, like supernatural is going on, but since you don't actually see it, that's why I'm saying it's implied because it's all secondhand information that's given to Craig. So I wouldn't necessarily call this supernatural horror. I would call this a psychological thriller because it, you don't, like I said, like when I brought up, the Conjuring universe, you don't actually see the people experiencing something going on for themselves. You just hear about it after the fact. So that's why I'd rather them call put it in the genre of, um, psychological thriller rather than supernatural horror or horror in general because it's it's not that I mean it's implied rather than seen. So I'm like, I mean, is it really happening or is it all in his head? That's why I'm like, I'd rather you classify it as psychological thriller rather than horror. But um, that's the only thing I had, the major thing I had as far as, um, a con goes. Otherwise, I think the acting is good and the storyline is there and good. Um, and so that's why I'm giving it a 4 out of 5. Um, but now, Um, as far as tonight's movie goes, it is The Call, um, where and it follows a group of small town friends in the fall of 1987 who must survive the night in a home of a sinister couple after a tragic accident brings them to that couple's front door. It stars Lynn Shay. If you've seen, um, I believe it was, why am I forgetting the name of the movie series? But Insidious, that's what it is. She starred in the Insidious movie series. It also has Tobin Bell, who's notorious for being in the Saw franchise. Um, It also has Chester Rushing, Aaron Sanders, who you know from shows like Big Time Rush and Zoe 101. So um, it also stars Mike Manning, Sloan Morgan Siegel, Judd Lormand, and Randy J. Goodwin. It's an hour and 44 minutes, and it's currently streaming on Peacock, Prime Video with AMC Plus and Shutter, Shutter specifically, Apple TV with Shutter, Hoopla, and Philo. Um, Now, this is pretty decent. I did actually get pretty much like a lot of Insidious vibes um, from this particular film. Not so much that it follows, obviously, um, a family who is getting haunted, specifically a child who is haunted or anything like that. But it does sort of go into like a similar vein um of like what is it called, the other, I think it's called the place at the, or the further, that's what it's called, the further. It sort of gives like the further vibes, um but it's not exactly that, but and the both movies have a different director and writer. But that's sort of the kind of thing that I was getting from it, was that it's sort of like the other, except you're pulled in to this or you pulled into this like further realm while actually awake, as opposed to being in a coma like in Insidious. So I did like that. And there is one character who goes to this house and is has to sort of make it out alive, who has sort of a missing sister, like with Until Dawn. And I think they did a better job ish of capturing that mystery that I like. I mean, I think the person whose sister is missing, so, quote unquote missing, um I think she's a little I mean, I think she does a good job of portraying like um a certain way of being with your sister having gone missing. um I think they um I mean, long story short, I think they did they I wasn't expecting them to actually go in the direction I was thinking they were going, with the big reveal of what happened to the sister. Um, because I mean, I was just expecting it to go a certain way, because that's what the narrative was. And yeah, so I mean, I like that they kind of did a magician sort of look over here, but what's really going on is over there. So I did like that, because like I said, I wasn't expecting that reveal. So I think that they did a good job of showing that. Um, and there's two other characters that are siblings but unrelated to the one that has a sister missing. And they sort of, because they do sort of flashbacks of the of these people's lives, um, while they're pulled into this other sort of dimension, and they reveal those secrets. And I think they did that in a really good way. And they showed like the past scenes really well. And I think they did. Um, I think everyone did a good job of acting in those scenes. Personally, so I personally give this like a 4.5 out of 5. Personally, um, I think they could have done a little bit better with the backstory of the sister, and actually moving, like showing snippets of everything, instead of waiting a little bit too long, um, to sort of show that. I think they could have put that in, say, 10 to 15 minutes in, rather than like an hour or so in. Um, so I think they waited a little bit too long, but overall, I think the whole sister storyline was good, um and all that. But it is what it is, because this came out in 2020, so this was like what, a COVID film. So I mean, at this point, what's done is done. I mean, I think the acting and the storytelling made up for that quite a bit. And if they didn't have those two things in there, I think it would have been, honestly, a little bit. I think it just would have been not that great. I don't think it would have been as successful in my mind. But um, that those were the 7 films I watched this week. Next week it's only going to be 6 because of the fact that Halloween sort of lands on a Friday rather than a um, Saturday. So I'm still deciding whether or not how when I'm gonna release those 6 films, like, or that my recap of those 6 films. Whether it's gonna be Friday or Saturday. Um, I'll see. My shows are back. So like the shows that I watched from like September slash October-ish to about May-ish are back on. So we'll see. Fridays are my heavy days where I watch a lot of stuff. So um we'll see. I might be able to swing being able to watch the movie a little bit earlier in the day, but we'll see. But um or I might just forgo the shows that night and just make the video and drop it on at 8 p.m. Um, it just depends on how I'm feeling that day and the rest of the week. But those are the movies that I watched this week. And I will see you guys next week. Like, share, subscribe, and um, let me know what you guys think of each movie if you've seen all of them or just a few of them, and let me know what you guys think of um, each movie that you have watched. Whether you agree, disagree, what's your interpretation on what the movie or movies were and what you liked about them and all that. And I will see you guys next week. Bye.